share their views. Right? I think we have the Honorable. Come in.
Right, Honorable.
Right, Honorable Collins.
Good evening. Good evening.
So we out here projecting a little for us. I mean, I know you're a soft-spoken gentleman.
Got soft hands, the party.
Should I come close?
I don't know, come. Let them be. Right, so, yeah. So our supporters, our viewers, you know, everybody's a little on edge. Right?
All right. And you know what we must do is to not only celebrate, salute, but appreciate the calm and the maturity of our leader.
Yes.
He could have easily said we've won and tried to force the process, but it's a man that we can respect and stand by, and that's why I'm proud and humbled to say that I am a part of his list.
Yes.
I call for calm.
Hold on.
And you find that, guys, and you find that as a people, I want to celebrate and commend our supporters as well. They have been fully restrained. They have exercised a lot of calm. And I would like to appreciate the fact that even though they may not be given much information,
Yes.
they are still willing to listen. They're still willing to abide, and they're law-abiding citizens. So I would like to thank that. And I heard you mention earlier about the storming of GCOM.
Yes.
No one mentioned that.
Yeah.
There was cultivated an atmosphere of hostility towards GCOM staff and its operation. And we have seen yesterday with our comrade, Ms. Joseph,
Yes.
whereby it was almost orchestrated, whereby he was shouting to the GCOM, the RO, and creating that doubt and that type of instability. So, and that has been the modus operandi of the PPP and the other contesting party.
Yeah.
So we have to, as a people, continue to demonstrate restraint, demonstrate calm, understanding, because there's nothing like knowing when you win. You know, people say, why is our leader so silent? And I would like to preface this to the mountain. He is stable and steadfast. And don't matter how the wind howls, the mountain is not moved.
Yes.
You know, a bulldog can beat a skunk any day, but sometimes it's not worth the stink. He is such a father, and a father that cares for the nation, that he is not willing to sacrifice peace and the level of transformation and development and advancement that we have had so far, just because of an easy win. He's willing to go the course. He's willing to ensure that all Guyanese, even the international community, who, by the way, have been somewhat disrespectful,
I think
not
so.
only to Guyanese, but to our sovereignty. And I think we as Guyanese should realize the moment and the time and understand what is at stake. How could you threaten a sovereign, legitimately elected leader and say that there is sanctions when there was no declaration?
No declaration.
There was absolutely no declaration. And I have never heard my leader come out and rebuke them. And there's a gentle caution that he extends. And I believe we are proud to have this brand and quality of leader. We have seen Guyana migrated from debauchery and degradation. We were blacklisted. Now we are #1 in tourism. We have migrated upward in terms of the index, the corruption index.
Well, we gone down with it.
We have gone down. We were 100 and something, now we're 85. They have been, all metrics have indicated Guyana progressing and developing. I have witnessed Let Him. We claim that Let Him have not voted, but Let Him voted, I think, is Region 9. But even though that is the level and the quality of the man that we are following, even though Let Him didn't vote, he wanted to bridge the gap, the developmental gap between the coastland and the hinterland. So there's no dichotomy with what is Guyana. We were once divided and say, I am from the coast and you are from the hinterland. No longer. The same rate of development. And the smart thing he has done by making these towns, by declaring them towns, is to allow the natural progression of development, because as a town, there's certain infrastructural requirements that has to take place, and that is the level and the degree of the integrity of our leader. He promised a good life for all, not just those on the coast. And he has ensured that there are policies and framework that ensure that it's a good life for us. So when you see the overwhelming support, I mean, it's an absolute absurdity that the PPP who have never won Region 4 could contest and claim that they have won. I mean,
and the thing is, the numbers, they're saying that they improved by some 10,000, and we improved only by about a little over 500 in Region 4. It's preposterous. I want to go back on something though, as we brought up the topic about Region 9. I want to assure everybody looking at this live that the narrative that you hear about Region 9 is not one that represents or is that of the party APNU AFC. We stand with and we support and we love all our Amerindian brothers and sisters, our indigenous regions and indigenous villages, right? We may have lost the region, but the work continues. The progress will continue in that region.
I give you an example. I contested the local government election. That's another thing. Our leader is such a man for democracy and respect for the Constitution that after 20 years or 2 decades of not holding local government election, our leader within 10 months held local government, even at the expense of his not winning, because there was no guarantee of winning. But because of respect for the Constitution, our leader ensured that we had a democratic, or bringing our nation back to democracy. So this charge is unfounded. And the PPP has a history of being maliciously scandalous. And we as a people need to do more in terms of supporting our leader. He had in 3 years 2 local government elections. I contested in the last local government election. I did not win, but I won the hearts of the people. There were days I would start early. I went into the gutter. I then got up, had to dress, put on my suit, and deliver a seminar. But my commitment to ensure that the nation, well, not the nation, but my community receives service, even though I did not win. You know, I spoke with Dimitri Ali, whom was recently seen in GCOM as a hooligan. But this was described and masked as if he was a champion for democracy. And that is the power of language. They described hooliganism and vandalism as championing democracy. That young man, I asked, I went to school with him, I said, even though I didn't win, this is my community, and I need to ensure that I do all that I can to ensure that development comes here. I am willing to work with you. He then told me, it is not the policy of the people. You didn't hear me. It is not the policy of the people. You go back almost 2 years, nothing was done by this young man. I still ensure that there's street lights, and that is what I want for us as Guyanese to understand. We must not necessarily depend on the administration. Out of my pocket and resources and being resourceful, I was able to garner street lights. There was in particular M&P Investment, who ensured that we got 2 weed whacker machines to ensure that the community. So we have had an administration that created an environment that allows for the society to take an active role in development and advancing the transformation that we can all be proud of. So I believe that this is the moment and this is the time where Guyana is now poised. We are, as a people, the whole world is looking at us. We were, never forget, condemned as a narco state. No longer. There was a time the very Trinidad and Barbados relegated us to a bench, but because of the stature of the man we call our leader, His Excellency David Arthur Granger, we are now respected. There was a time you were asked, how much money do you have? What is your purpose for travel? How long are you staying? And if they desire to send you back, they could have sent you back. You don't find that happening now. As an oil-producing nation, that is no longer something to happen. That has happened. You are now in a new dispensation, a new era, where you are now in an oil-producing nation. All of you have heard of Dubai. They said that Guyana is potentially the Dubai of the region. We have the heart and the mind to understand that we will not be recolonized. There is what is called the oil curse. But Guyana is so blessed. You remember when the uncircumcised Philistine attempted to decimate the army of God. It was one who was called David, who had nothing but a slingshot and 5 rocks. And he was, based on the anointing of God upon his life, he was able to defeat a Goliath. Our president, aptly named David, defeated the Goliath of the PPP. He beheaded the Goliath of the PPP. Now there is only the ghost of the PPP. As you can see, the division. There is now a Jagdeo PPP. They have migrated from the ideals of its founder leader. Imagine in an election year, their founder leader celebrated his birthday, and that was not celebrated. It demonstrated the callousness of this one called Jagdeo. But my plea to you is to understand your place and your role. You have been exceptional. You have exercised restraint. I looked at the media and I heard PPPs brought out rioters who claim to be there fighting for democracy. Come here. Fighting for democracy. They stoned a minibus with children. Nobody condemned that.
The international community, they were silent. Conveniently so.
It is objectionable, it's repulsive, it's repugnant that we have a people who seems to be desensitized to the plight and the cries of a particular ethnic group. We will no longer allow ourselves to be polarized by Western interests. I believe the time is now. You know, sometimes people hold a core belief that is very strong. And when they are presented with evidence that work against that belief, the new evidence cannot be accepted. It creates a feeling called cognitive dissonance. And because it is so important to protect that belief, they rationalize, ignore, and even deny anything that doesn't fit with that belief. PPP has a notion of saying they cannot lose an election. What foolishness is that? You have evidence of them declaring statements of poll. Not even know the spreadsheet. On the 29th,
before the election is even held,
there was a press conference and someone was asked, would you display your what is it?
Statements of poll.
Not statements of, your statements of poll. As if it's a tit for tat. Not realizing that we have demonstrated as not only a party and a government that we will not interfere with the process of GCOM. We respect, and our leader demands respect for the process of GCOM.
I think what people need to understand is the plan that unfolded. PPP had this very clear plan from the beginning. At the start of the process, we are going to introduce these statements of polls very early. These obviously doctored statements of polls that reflects our victory. And we're going to do as much as possible to make people believe that these are the correct numbers. And try and turn the light away from the actual body, GCOM, that is the sole arbiter of the process, and shed the light on the PPP. Let us try to make us to believe that, you know what, our numbers are correct. And a lot of these small parties ran with that narrative that the PPP's numbers are what we're supposed to look at. People, the only way I should look at your number is, I must look at it, they want us to look at it under the assumption that it's correct. But we don't know if it's correct. The only numbers we can trust is GCOM.
Whether we have queries as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
And that's interesting. We have asked to come in a number and it was denied.
Right, because our numbers might be incorrect too. But what numbers we have to trust? We have to trust GCOM. If we have a problem with our numbers, everybody has to go back to GCOM.
GCOM is the ultimate governing constitutional statutory body that deals with election.
Suppose the government would have did the same thing. What kind of reaction you think?
Exactly. If we would have
were on
heard
the
the
opposing
international community making a hell of a racket, if it was the government who was making these claims about the SOPs or anything of that nature.
Declaring victory
and the thing
before
is
victory.
that when we're going to have these conversations, we have to be fair. We have to be just in our comments. I made a comment earlier. I heard something earlier. I should say, and the person said everything that they would have reported in the media is true. But I want to say this: if you withhold information from the public, you only share one side of the story. You're also telling a lie. And I think that what has been playing out during this, for the last couple of days after election, was a one-sided story.
I mean,
Totally.
even yesterday, when we saw the and I believe they had to take the phones out. How did they were able to film? However, when you heard it on Critic says Mr. Yearwood being assaulted because he showed the clip where she was trying to respond to being assaulted. Then another clip showed up
With the entire scenario
where you show how it happened.
from the beginning.
So you understand that there's a narrative being cultivated to deceive, to beguile, to
But
hoodwink.
in any case, my thing is when we're going to have these conversations about assault, especially when we have women involved, and I may be biased because I'm a woman, even if she was the aggressor or whatever she did, there is no reason for him to put his hand upon her.
Yeah.
But we would have been accustomed to an era under the PPP where women were abused with any care. We had women, we had the Fraser gang going into homes and kicking pregnant women in their bellies, and we no.
Look at
Wait, I know why I want to go that far.
So hold on, no, guys, I know you just joined the live. I know you're looking, you're wondering what is happening. We're having a nice open discussion here
Yeah.
on all the things that are happening right now as you wait on GCOM, right? I mean, the discussion has gone on to a number of different places, but we want to assure you that we have all faith in GCOM, the body that is constitutionally responsible for our elections, and we are waiting for them to make their final declaration. So again, we are going to be sharing information with you on the live.
And we will have Mr. Belgrave is here, and I think at this point you should comment on this conversation